I do want to get to the latest, this crazy Michigan sign stealing scandal. Say that 10 times fast. The Michigan sign stealing scandal. It has taken so many twists. There's so many interesting new layers, and we got a bunch of new ones on Wednesday. So obviously by now, I think everybody kind of knows the background of what's going on. And where we last left the story on Tuesday night was that ESPN report that basically said that Connor Stalions, the guy at the center of this, had essentially blanketed the entire Big Ten over the last couple of years with people that he sent, whether you want to call them associates, friends, scouts, whatever, to these games, 30 Big Ten games in total, and everything followed the same pattern. Opposing sideline, 45, 50-yard line, up high enough where you can see the sideline. And basically video surveillance shows that they're taking video of the opposing sideline, which we assume, and we don't know all of the details, but we assume was used in Connor Stalions' scheme. And so I bring it up because that was where we last left it. And I bring it up to say there is a lot of new information just since then. First of all, Yahoo put out a report shortly after that ESPN report, shortly after we went live on Tuesday night. One, wasn't just the Big Ten, baby. That's right, Stalions or whomever he's working with. He had sent scouts to Clemson games, to Tennessee games, essentially anyone that Michigan, in theory, could have played in the college football playoff. Ironically, the one school they didn't send anybody to was TCU, and of course, TCU beat Michigan in the playoff. How about this? We also got a little bit of an update from a Tennessee message board that at least somebody in the Tennessee community kind of knew, like, oh yeah, Michigan's sending people to our games. By then, Tennessee had been eliminated from the college football playoff race, but it's just a weird, wild, strange kind of just whatever. And then on Wednesday, we got a very interesting profile. This is the latest of the Connor Stalions person who is at the center of this entire scandal. Okay. So the article is from Sports Illustrated, a writer named Richard Johnson. I don't know him, but he did a heck of a job on this. And the article is centered on a bunch of text message exchanges between Stalions in 2021 and a young college student who was trying to break into the college ranks. These are text messages from Stalions, and it kind of paints, in my opinion, a very interesting picture, not so much of his relationship with Michigan, so much as his relationship and how he's trying to maneuver to get himself to the top of the college football world. I think there's some very interesting stuff in here. First of all, I will say that in the article, or in the text messages, which are found in the article, he brags about having relationships with Jay Harbaugh, obviously Jim Harbaugh's son, Chris Partridge, another longtime assistant. That stuff, that's just his perspective on things. We really don't know all that much. The article references a Venmo to Jay Harbaugh, but that could have been anything. That could have been for lunch. It could have been for whatever. So I'm not going to sit here and imply that that means something. Where I do think it gets interesting, though, is some of the other details that emerge throughout the article. First off, guy grew up a Michigan fan. Both of his parents went to Michigan. He actually got accepted to Michigan, although he decided to go to the Naval Academy. And that's where it starts to get interesting. First of all, he had on his computer a 500 to 600 page manifesto. This is where it gets interesting, okay? And this is where I think there's the Michigan fans that are defending their program. This is where the profile of this guy starts to get a little, whatever. But the first big thing, I just mentioned it. A 500-page manifesto on his computer called the Michigan Manifesto, in which he basically details everything that would go into or should go into being the head coach at Michigan. He basically tells this person through the text messages, I want to be the Michigan coach someday. I'm working on this with 2 or 3 other guys. We have a dozen other people that are interested in this. Who knows if that's true? And basically, he's got on his page on his computer, a 600-page document that explains what's going to happen and how he's going to become the Michigan coach. His justification is, hey, look, there's somebody out there that's building one of these for Ohio State, and we got to be ready to go, all that. Just going to say, I'm all for ambition. I'm all for looking ahead. I'm all for planning. I'm all for having big picture goals. Feels a little bit extreme to me. Beyond that, I think there's some really very interesting things that come out in those text messages. Some stuff, frankly, potentially criminal, okay? So first of all, when he was at Navy, so he attended Navy, student assistant, worked with the football team. There is essentially I guess it's a smoking gun because it comes from Connor Stalions. that he actually, in the process of trying to accumulate information, to build this manifesto, to have an understanding of what goes into a winning college football program, he actually went to the Navy admissions office and was able to procure admissions documents for 500 football players that were admitted to Navy. Now, I will tell you right now, I'm not a legal expert, but Sports Illustrated reached out to Navy, and here was their response to that exact thing. The Naval Academy public affairs officer wrote to Sports Illustrated, any Naval Academy official who inappropriately accessed that data would be subject to criminal and civic penalties associated with the Privacy Act. So in other words, he went to the admissions office, said it was for Ken Niumatalolo, the football coach at the time, and accessed 500 students' documents as far as admissions are concerned. That is not normal behavior, even when you're trying to get ahead. And it was interesting because in the article, he kind of explains what he used it for. He goes through all the data, tries to find some kind of corresponding information to basically validate, basically try and learn something from all this information. And what he concludes is that Navy's best players, and this to me is important, so just listen. He concludes that Navy's best players are players with high GPAs but low SAT test scores, okay? And the kind of insinuation there, and I know I'm bouncing around, but I hope all this makes sense. But his insinuation is he looks through all this documents, he adds it to his manifesto, and essentially it is that he basically says, like, look, high GPA, low test scores means that they are putting in the day-to-day work, even if they don't have a great, test score or whatever. Those are the kind of guys that we want. And so why do I bring it up? It is because this is essentially his theory as to how to climb the ladder in college football. Find something unique, present it to the coaching staff, make yourself valuable. And again, I'm all for being valuable. I'm not for breaking laws to do it, though, which is what appears to have happened. By the way, here is what he says to his buddy about why he made this decision. He said, and I quote, this is directly from that text message. He said, again, why this is important. You want to present something to coaches that they can use. Thank you, everybody, as always, for your support of the Aaron Torres Pod and Aaron Torres Pod YouTube channel. And we have a major announcement as legal sports betting is now in the state of Kentucky. That is right. The Aaron Torres Pod and Aaron Torres Pod YouTube has partnered with DraftKings Sportsbook and the DraftKings Sportsbook app. And here is the best part. DraftKings has an incredible offer for listeners of the Aaron Torres Pod who are first-time customers with DraftKings. This is the deal. Here's what you need to know. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app. Bet $5 on any game, just $5, and you get $200 in bonus bets instantly when you use the promo code Torres. That's right. It's that simple. Again, first-time customers, download the DraftKings Sportsbook app, bet $5 on any game, pro, college, any sport you want, and get $200 in bonus bets instantly when you use the code Torres. Thank you to our new partners, DraftKings Sportsbook. Thrilled to be working with them. Take advantage of their offer now. He said, you can't ask coaches what they need. You have to tell them what they need, but it can't be up for interpretation. It has to be very straightforward, unique, and useful. If it's not one of those three things, it's pointless. So again, basically find your unique lane, find your niche, find your avenue, and make sure that the coaches know that this is something that they need. He did it at Navy with all these test scores, and obviously a Michigan fan will insinuate that he did this with all the sign stealing at Michigan. Lastly, and I think this is really, really, really important, okay? Jedd Fisch, current head coach at Arizona. Shout out Coach Fisch, gone fishing, the Arizona football, whatever. I bring it up because Jedd Fisch, prior to being the Arizona head football coach, was an offensive assistant with the Los Angeles Rams. And at the time, Connor Stalions was at Camp Pendleton in San Diego in the military. And I guess through contacts at Michigan, got in touch with Jedd Fisch and kind of helped him prepare for his interview, helped him come up with documents, helped him this, helped him that. Jedd Fisch gets the job, and Connor Stalions is going about, according to the text messages that he sent, telling people that he's essentially, I'm basically the chief of staff. I basically work with Coach Fisch. I'm his right-hand man. And Arizona, when they heard this, much like the Naval Academy, immediately released a statement that said, no. He never had any official title at all, ever, under any circumstances with the University of Arizona. And so I bring all of this up. The Naval Academy, stealing classified documents, essentially. making up a job title at the University of Arizona. I bring it all up for a couple things. Okay, so my interpretation, okay, and obviously I think everyone kind of knows. I'm not a psychologist, although my wife does work in mental health. That's neither here nor there. I'm not a psychologist, whatever. What I would say is, as an outsider, this is just my perspective, this is just my opinion, is that what is very clear, this is a guy that has a plan, that is trying to work himself up the ladder. But I also think for most of us who work with young people, I'm fortunate in my role to have interns and work with college students and high school students and some young professionals. There's a difference between a guy or a girl that's just willing to put in the work, willing to grind, willing to put their head down. And I do think there's some element of that with Connor Stalions. But there's also those people that are going to put their head down that are going to then try to cut the corner, that are going to try to do something, break a rule. And I'm not talking about an NCAA rule or this rule or that rule. But there is a way to get ahead the right way, and there is a way to get ahead the wrong way. And I think Connor Stalions, no doubt about it, zero question, not only pushed those boundaries, but even nothing to do with Michigan. He crossed those boundaries, right? We talked about this a minute ago. You can't be taking classified documents from an admissions office. That is literally a criminal offense. He could, I don't know what the jail situation is, but like that is a criminal violation. And he just admitted it through a text message. We'll find out if there's any truth to it. But if it is, we're talking about criminal activity. That's not getting ahead. That is getting ahead in a legal manner, in an illegal manner, in case that did not come out right. 2, lying about a role with Jedd Fisch. I mean, listen, again, I get wanting to get ahead. I get on your free time, driving out, helping them out, going above and beyond, being available, wanting to get your foot in the door somewhere. But to then lie to friends, lie to people about a role that you have that does not exist, that's not normal person behavior. And so what I will say, I've been very critical of Michigan, and I still think this is a major deal. I keep hearing people say, oh, everybody steals signs. Everybody doesn't send people to other games to video the opposing sideline. That does not happen, at least not that I have ever heard of, never to the degree that has gone on here. What I will also say, though, is that from the beginning, Jim Harbaugh has claimed he had no idea about this. Michigan fans have claimed that there is, that this guy is a lone wolf. He is operating on his own. Nobody knows this and that. And I get that there's two sides to every story. And I get that a non-Michigan fan will say, well, explain to me why he's in the ear of Jesse Minter, the defensive coordinator, in the ear of former defensive coordinator Mike Macdonald, why he's in the ear of some of the offensive head coaches, why there's pictures of him right next to Jim Harbaugh. But what I'm here to tell you is this does not paint a very good picture for Connor Stalions. And if you want to make the argument, I think this is the strongest argument yet that Michigan fans have, that, oh, by the way, that this guy was a lone wolf. Because when I sit there and say, because I sat there 24 hours ago and I said, there's no way that a guy that's making $55K a year is buying tickets upon the dozens on the 50-yard line, spending hundreds, if not thousands of dollars to send his buddies or to send whoever you want to call it, a student assistant, a grad assistant, whatever it would be. But now he's making up stories about jobs that he has that he never had. He's essentially stealing. He's not stealing, but he's illegally obtaining documents about admission standards from the Naval Academy. Do I find it that hard to believe now that all of a sudden he's spending every last dollar he has to send people to scout so that he can have the signs, so that he can present them to the coaching staff, so that he can move up the ladder? He's got this Michigan manifesto on his computer. He's trying to move up that ladder. He's trying to become the Michigan head coach as soon as possible. And so, listen, we're only led to interpret what it means and why it means and this and that and the other thing. But this article, these text messages, they don't present the best representation of him or who he is or what he's about. And so, weirdly, this is a very strange article. I think it should make Michigan fans feel good. Because if he's willing to go to all these extremes to get ahead, why wouldn't he be willing to go to extremes like buying tickets, sending friends, flying them out? I'm just saying, to me, very strange story, very strange behavior. And like everything else, it's making me question all sorts of things. Now, like everything else in this story, I'm sure there's going to be a new layer in the next hour or two or five or by Monday or whatever. by the time Michigan plays again. But I'm here to say, man, this is some very, very, very strange stuff. I'm here to tell you, feels like there's new information coming out every day. I think this is the strangest information that we've gotten yet.